Good evening, Crime Talk aficionados. This is Crime Talk. My name is Scott Reich. It's Tuesday night. That means it's our After Dark show. Thanks for joining us. Want to thank you for being here. We're going live on both Facebook and YouTube this evening. And I also understand TikTok. Go figure. And apparently, unbeknownst to me, Julie made a video and it got like what, 2 million views or something like that on Instagram. Go figure. Which is great. We appreciate that, but have no idea. I mean, I kind of know what TikTok is, but I don't know really how to post on it or anything like that. So anyway, we are here. The old standby is obviously YouTube, where we started, Facebook. Anyway, we just appreciate him for being there. All right. For anyone who is maybe new to the program, not familiar with what we do here, saying, who is this guy and why does he have that tie on? I didn't realize how bright that tie looked until just a moment ago as I looked into the monitor here. But anyway, my name is Scott Reich. I'm a practicing criminal defense attorney. Been doing it for 27 years now. So I think I have a pretty good understanding of how a prosecutor looks at a case to prosecute it, as well as a defense attorney needs to understand how a case needs to be defended when it comes to cases out there. We started this little channel. I still consider it a little channel, but if you guys could, like, subscribe, tell a friend, get me to 1 million subscribers, and I promise you I will quit my day job and we will do nothing but YouTube. I will probably broadcast from, I don't know, maybe 9 to 5. We'll talk about everything you want to do and, make videos along the way. But the reality of it is, get us to $1 million. I quit my day job. Promise. All right. So we started this channel a couple years ago when the whole Chris Watts thing started. You can't believe that's been like 4 years now. 4 years. But we appreciate everybody. We really do appreciate all the people that watch our channel. I don't even know how many. What are we up to? 200, almost 210,000 subscribers, I think. So we still got a ways to go. Come on, people. I'd like to quit my day job. Okay. And what is Facebook? I cannot believe how that has taken off. What is it, like 390,000 people on Facebook? Are you crazy? So anyway, this is this show for you all. We'll talk about a couple things hitting the headlines here, so to speak. Obviously, we can always talk about the Lori Vallow matter. I still think the Murdoch case is going to be very interesting, and it wouldn't surprise me if there's an indictment there. But apparently just this evening, just this afternoon, excuse me, if I can get my little computer here to work. Look at this. Reality TV stars Todd and Julie Chrisley are found guilty of running year-long fraud conspiracy and hiding their money from IRS and face 30 years in prison. Scorned gay lover of father of 5 tipped off feds to their crime when fling ended. That's not good, right? Now, we mentioned this case a couple of weeks ago when the case started, and it was weird. So, as I understand it, Mr. Chrisley's married, has 5 kids, but maybe had a gay lover several years ago, and hell has no fury like a lover scorn, and basically went to the feds, tipped everybody off. The Chrisleys went to trial and apparently were found guilty of conspiracy to defraud the United States and willfully filing false tax returns. Then also conspiracy to commit bank fraud, conspiracy to defraud the United States, tax fraud, wire fraud. The wire fraud is what's really going to get them up there on the federal sentencing guidelines. So that's not going to be good for them. I don't know, Frank, can you put a picture up of the Chrisleys there so maybe people will know? I've only seen this show a few times. But when they said that he had a gay lover, which is fine, it's just like, okay, it didn't surprise me, but somebody want to tell his wife, so to speak. But anyway, yeah, that's what happens. That's one of the 12 undeniable rules of life from a criminal defense attorney is that, usually people have a second life or a secret out there they don't want other people to know about. And apparently Mr. Chrisley did not want people to know about his stuff because, he was basically being threatened and blackmailed and wanted more money from the gay lover, so to speak. And when he didn't get it, scorn, go to the police with their secrets. And you can't claim marital privilege with your boyfriend, girlfriend. You got to be married to claim marital privilege. So it's just the way it goes. So we'll see. It's unclear whether they were remanded into custody or whether, the CPA, was he also found guilty? Yep, he was found guilty at all counts. The CPA was found guilty as well on all counts. He was found guilty on all counts. This is in Atlanta. I'd have to run the numbers on the federal sentencing guidelines to see what the loss of amount would be. That's going to bump it up on the federal sentencing guidelines. But they always put here facing 30 years in prison. They're not going to get 30 years in prison on a tax fraud case. You have to remember, ladies and gentlemen, federal laws are written by people in Congress, predominantly wealthy, successful individuals. What are they most likely, or their friends most likely, family members most likely to get in trouble for? Probably taxes, right? So it's going to take a lot under the federal sentencing guidelines to have to get 30 years, and that's just not going to do it. Probably a lot of those counts would merge for sentencing purposes, but I'm going to, probably talking, I haven't seen anything about it, probably talking 3 to 8 years for that. But yeah, they're going to prison. When you go to federal prison, you go to federal court, you go to federal prison. It's not like state court where you're going to get probation. Oh, you've been a really nice person. You've been a great person. We're going to give you a break. No, it's not about that in federal court. In federal court, the federal sentencing guidelines are, here's a little chart. You put it up, and that's where you come out. And then you can make various arguments under what they call 18 United States Code 3553A factors, which is basically everything, the principles of sentencing. And that is what the judge does to make a appropriate sentence that is no greater than reasonably necessary to assure the principles of sentencing, which are punishment, deterrent, rehabilitation, occupational training, skills, education, things along those lines that somebody can do while they are in prison to make themselves a better person, to make them a productive member of society. But the feds, you just don't get probation. We were talking last week. They had the Josh Duggar sentencing. Remember the family, what was it, 16 and me, whatever the family thing, 19 and counting. That was it, 16 and me. Isn't that's like the DNA thing. 23 and me, 19 and counting. Like, who could you imagine? Anyway, we'll just leave it right there. But he was looking at 20 years in prison. He's not going to. Went through the analysis we did a year ago when he got arrested, and I said if he's found guilty, he's probably going to get between 8 and 12 years, and he got 12 years. So, oftentimes this is why we have our show. We like to break it down. We like to get to the facts and keep it real, not just the hype. What is oftentimes the problem in the news media, which is one of the reasons why we started this little channel. So That's where we are today. Let's go ahead and take a look at some of the questions this evening that are coming in. And boy, they're going by fast. Now, because let's now you don't have to do it, okay? But I'm telling you, if you want to have your where did it all go? I hit a button and everything went away. Let's see here. We're back. If you have a question and you would like it highlighted, you really want it answered, and you're not a Patreon, because if you join us for a Patreon in an hour, obviously there's less people that are going to be there, but you're going to get your question answered. All right. But if you want an answer tonight, you can do a super chat. We're not begging for them, not asking for them, but I'm telling you, it does help get highlighted on my screen, and it will definitely help. Okay. Oh, Christine Martin, it's 1:10 in Glasgow. Well, thank you for joining us. Oh, we got another one. Gemma Jones Dickinson. It's in the United Kingdom. It's 1:18. Thank you for joining us as well. Matt, that's right. Matt Donut. The Hugger, right? The Duggar family rhymes with Hugger, needs to be put on a farm. 19 years and counting. Sorry. Scott saying it's called BC pills because pills. Yeah. A bit late, but only one because I was doing dishes, watching today's video to catch up before getting on. Well, thanks for joining us, Mullet Mayhem. All right. This week, I don't know about you. Last week was brutal, and not on this aspect of it. It was just the work stuff. It was a culmination of everything just coming together for so long over the last 2 years. COVID had shut the courts down. You had, doing the WebEx, Zoom to court. And frankly, it was so much easier, so much more efficient. And I had a situation last week where it's like, we're just going to continue. We're going to set a hearing. This is going to take 5 minutes. And this one particular judge on the other side of the state doesn't believe in WebEx, doesn't think that there's enough decorum when they have WebEx. People don't know how to use the mute button, the dog's barking in the background, the kid is crying, etc. Right? And there was some weather, so I'm like, oh, I'm going to fly over. That couldn't fly over. I had to go to the jail. I think I got done at the jail like 6, 7 o'clock at night. Then had to drive 5 hours, find a hotel room in this little town that's actually sold out because it's summertime and a lot of people go there in the summertime. Pay a ridiculously high price for a small little hotel room. And I kid you not, 5-minute court appearance. 5-minute court appearance. And then I drove back for 5 hours. How inefficient is that? Let's see. I know I should charge the judge for gas money, but he doesn't think that, there's only so much I can say because he is, somebody is a sitting judge and can't be disrespectful and don't want to do that. But are you kidding me? Yeah, Don Marie, the plane. We had some weird, nasty weather over here. And it was just crazy. And literally, one of the things they teach you when you learn to fly is I wasn't feeling well. I just felt like I had kind of a head cold. I'd been at the jail. It was just real nasty weather. And normally I'd be like, just let's go for it. But I just didn't feel well. One of the first things they teach you when you become a pilot is that you, if you don't feel well, don't fly. Like I said, I had a head cold. It was just didn't feel right. I was tired and I just didn't want to risk it, going over the mountains and things like that. So Yeah, it was just a tough week. This week has been a much better week thus far. And yeah. Okay. Somebody wants to talk about the Johnny Depp case. Now, Johnny Depp, what can I say about Johnny Depp case? He won. I was a little surprised he didn't stick around, but I know he had a gig. Apparently I think I saw something today. He spent $60,000 on a celebratory dinner. And then in today's video, we talked about Camille Vasquez, the attorney that really made a name for herself, was named a partner in the law firm in which she was an associate and practices. Somebody sent me a little, I was looking at something really quickly, and they're like, oh, yeah, he wants to be a partner. And, look at all the expenses with it. And yes, everybody thinks when you become a partner in a law firm that like somehow you've made it, like they give you that. No, it's like any business. If somebody says, hey, you want to be a partner? All right, here's your share. You get to share in all the expenses. And if it's a big national firm, like I think her firm is, now she gets to pay taxes in all the states that the firm has offices as well as a partner. And she gets her share of the overhead that she has to cover every month as well. So that's it. And Amber Heard. Now, what is Amber Heard going to do since the trial has been completed? Probably have a little bit of free time when it comes to acting. I think she's going to get a lot of free time, really time to brush up on her trade for sure. Because I don't think she's going to have a whole lot of work coming her way. She did put out a statement today saying that women's rights have been pushed back. I don't necessarily know about that. Trials are a tricky thing. No matter how good sometimes you think your facts are, if they just don't like the people, it's just not going to turn out well. I'll tell you a little war story. Had a case once. It couldn't have been. This was like a law school textbook example of self-defense. Okay. Now, of course, like any case, it's not perfect. If a case was perfect, it wouldn't be going to trial. You've got it. There's usually an issue in there somewhere, right? And it's a great case. Great case. Guy had no intent to kill anybody, nothing along those lines. Get in a fight. There's a fight that goes on. And it starts in, this backyard, like, family members, stepkids, something like that. Something, just stupid facts. And everybody's drunk. And so they start fighting. It starts off with fists and what have you. And at some point, somebody gets a pole and they back outside, and the other guy grabs a knife and what have you. And as the day goes on, the fight goes on over just a course of a couple of minutes. One of the guys, when he picked up the sharp object, literally like pokes the guy, hits him right here in the arm, right? Or I guess it's this arm over here. He was holding up a thing, pokes him, hits an artery right there. Dude bleeds out. Self-defense case. I mean, the guy's holding up a thing. And I remember I'm in trial. I'm like, oh, listen. I mean, and they made a smoking good offer on the case. It was tough to turn down. It was so good. It wasn't my decision. It's the client's. And I'm up there, and this is like one of those, like a Perry Mason moment. I'm up there, and the DAs are like filling time. They're like, well, we're going to get this steel pipe in. So we're killing a little time. Let's get the steel pipe in. We'll call an investigator. Like, okay. So they call up the investigator, tells him about all this experience that he has. And I'm like, well, God, I didn't even really have this guy on my witness list because I know what he's going to do, but it was just great. So we're sitting there and he's like, tell him all his police experience and how he collected how he went and he got the pipe and he picked it up and he labeled it and he sealed it and he put it into evidence and he picked it up and removed it and brought it here to court. And they did the big show where they took the knife and they cut the little yellow tape and they opened the box in great anticipation. And they said, but wait, before you touch that, let me get you some of those little blue gloves that we have. I think they're right over there in the witness stand. Oh, so he goes under there and he pulls out the little box and he puts on his little gloves and he snaps them on. And he looks at the DA like he's ready to go do surgery. He goes, would you like me to take the item out of the box? And he reaches down in and he pulls out this little fence pipe, like a steel pipe. And he's looking at it. Is this the pipe that you recovered that night? Yes, it is. Is it in the same condition substantially as it was that night? Yes, it is. This appears to be it. I've initialed it. This is the weapon that the victim was holding at the time. Okay. I'm like, all right. Well, that was pretty anticlimactic. So I get up and say, investigator, you've got a lot of experience, don't you? Yes, I do. I've been a police officer. He's been an elected sheriff. You name it. He's done this. He's done that. He's done it all. And he's kind of on his final tour out as a district attorney investigator. And I asked him, I said, can I approach to pick up that steel pipe? Yeah, what? Court says, sure. He goes, would you like some rubber gloves? And I said, no, I think I'm fine. So I get the steel pipe and I'm holding it up here. And I'm like, sir, your experience as a police officer, you're familiar with the definition of a deadly weapon, aren't you? Yes, I am. That can be anything that could cause death or serious bodily injury. Would you agree with me? Yes, it would. Would you consider this piece of steel pipe a deadly weapon? I certainly would. And if you put it up and somebody was holding it like a baseball bat and they were going to swing it at you, would you consider that to be a deadly weapon as well, investigator? Absolutely. And sir, you would defend yourself if somebody came at you with this big piece of steel pipe swinging it at you. And he looks at me and he goes, yeah, I would have shot him. And it was like this Perry Mason moment, like, okay, no further questions. I'm going to give that deadly weapon back to him and put it in the box with his little gloves and tape it back up and seal it and what have you. And it was great. It's like their own witness just said that he would shoot the guy if he was coming at him with that steel pipe. Great facts. I'm like, this case can't get any better. This is the best self-defense case I've ever had. Well, second best self-defense case. I'm like, this is fabulous. And I'm on a roll. Like I had like 5 trials in a row with not guilty. I'm like, this is great. I'm winning. And then they played the interview of my client, who is the most unlikable person you could, who mean mugged every person in the courtroom. Had he just sat over there, listened to me, his attorney, like it just sat there like a little angel. I'm like, yeah, do you see? The man came at me with the big steel pipe, and I just defended myself with, as the coroner described, a once-in-a-lifetime stab. It just lucky shot. If he had gone just a millimeter to the left or the right, would have missed the artery, and it would have been stitched up with maybe a stitch or two and a Band-Aid. But instead, the guy bleeds out. But does anyone ever listen to their attorney? Let me tell you, most of the time, they don't. And I will never understand why. People come to you and they hire you and they say, you know what? I was referred to you by a friend. You did a good job for them. I'm going to pay you exorbitant amounts of money for you to look at a case, analyze it, evaluate what I should do, look at the defenses, look at potential mitigation. I'm going to pay all that kind of money, ridiculous money. And then I'm going to do exactly the opposite of what you told me to do. Even though I will sit there and look at you in your office, stare you in the eyes and say, thank you so much. Thank you for the great advice. And then we're going to do the complete opposite. That's just what clients do. Okay. I don't know why. But that just seems like what they do. District attorneys blame it on, oh, you don't have any client control. I'm like, yesterday I thought we were going to do, I don't know why we're setting the case for trial now. I thought we had a deal. I don't know what to. So, That's just the way it is. Okay. They don't listen. And this client didn't listen. And the jury found him not guilty of first-degree murder, but they found him guilty of second-degree murder, which still carries a ton of time when you have what they call habitual enhancers on there. So you just never know what's going to happen in trial. Just like Amber Heard, she probably thought, court in England's already said that I was credible, found all these things had happened. No way is Johnny Depp going to win. And like I said, I took a little bit of heat. I didn't think that either witness was particularly great. I thought Amber Heard was a terrible witness, trying to always get that little dig in. I thought Johnny Depp was just, for me as an attorney, I thought it was painful. I was just like, just answer your own attorney's question. But that's just me. Okay. But now what is Amber Heard going to do? Amber Heard she can appeal. Usually you have to post that appeal bond, usually the amount of the bond. Okay. And the reason is that so that you can, everybody feels secure that you have the money to pay the bond. Because remember, in most jurisdictions, once that judgment comes in, you're entitled to interest, but you can also ask for pre-judgment interest. So suddenly, that $10,350,000 could start turning, this case has lingered for a couple of years. Usually it's 8%. Can somebody do the math on that real quick? 10,350,000, say for what this case has been pending 3 years, at 8%, that adds up pretty damn quick. So if she appeals, okay, we'll see. I don't know if they're going to. Then the question becomes, because if the reports are true that her homeowner's insurance covered her up to this point, the issue there is homeowner's insurance covers you for negligent acts, not intentional acts. So the insurance company could have given her we will represent you with reservations of rights, that basically we could come and ask you to reimburse us for our expenses because this was not a negligent act. This was an intentional act. So when she testifies that she has $6 million in attorney's fees, she could literally have another $6 million in attorney's fees coming. Like, we'll get in line, right? I don't think she has a pot to pee in at this point, or very little. I think she owns a house, maybe a couple of things. It's not like her movie career is exactly taking off, right? So it's going to be somewhat limited. The most clear option then would be bankruptcy. And I'm not sure, like some intentional acts, like fraudulent acts, are not dischargeable in bankruptcy. However, I don't know. I really just don't know. So I'd have to look it up and try to get some research. Maybe somebody knows if I think this judgment would be dischargeable in bankruptcy. And then of course he gets nothing, but she, they can come after her. At some point, once the judgment enters, the Johnny Depp team can start issuing debtor interrogatories. Okay. And those are always interesting because when they serve the debtor interrogatories, it's basically saying, hey, we have a judgment against you. Please tell us how much money you don't have. Tell us about the assets that you don't have or that you've gotten rid of so that we can go chase those down. And usually, what's the word I'm looking for? Usually the people ignore debtor interrogatories. They're like, I didn't show up to pay this guy in court. Why would I pay him now? And they blow it off, not knowing that it's subject to contempt. So the court can issue a contempt, and then maybe you can help the police find the guy to say, hey, there's a warrant for his arrest. And they arrest him and they take him to court. And then you get to do the debtor interrogatory. Oh, I see you're here today and you have a watch on. Really? How much is that watch worth? $150. Okay. Judge, we'd ask to take that and, take it and credit towards the balance. That's literally what debtor interrogatories can be. How much money you got in your wallet? Give it to the court. Wouldn't that be a hoot to see? Of course, if somebody files for bankruptcy protection, one of the first things that takes place is there's an automatic stay, and all cases that are pending just stop, and they cannot proceed until and if they receive permission from the bankruptcy court. Had a case years ago where there was a guy, somebody in the office was representing them on there was a criminal case, there was a civil case going on, and the result of everything, let's just say things went bad. And one of the things they did was file for bankruptcy. Stops everything. Next thing you know, we're going like to Texas, go to the bankruptcy court, trying to explain, why these cases shouldn't go forward, because they were trying to, get them to, resume again. And it's only civil cases. I want to make it clear. It's only civil cases that get stayed in that regard. So that's what will more than likely happen if Amber Heard does a bankruptcy. It's more than likely probably a Chapter 7, where they just do a kind of a liquidation. Like, let's see what you got, what's exempt under the state statutes regarding bankruptcy. If there's any excess, we'll try to give it to any of the creditors. If she has a mortgage on the house, that gets paid off first. She can assume that debt. If it's a 13, she can try to pay it off over time. Who knows? Or maybe, like some people have speculated, maybe Amber Heard's ex-boyfriend, and is it possibly father of her child, possibly Elon Musk, who could probably, what makes $10 million like every 2 hours or something, probably could write a check for that and just be done with it. Maybe he would write a check for her, and then she can go chase Johnny Depp down and say, where's my $2 million? I want my $2 million. Question, Orange Jujub. Can Amber be arrested for claiming abuse and fabrication of abuse? In theory, she could. Doubt it. Somebody asked a question before, I think it was last week. Will Amber Heard be prosecuted for perjury? No, not going to happen. Prosecutors don't get involved in civil cases like that. A lot of these cases are so old. If there was a false, allegation, attempt to influence a public official, false statement to the police, a lot of those statements would have been barred by the statute of limitations at this point. And, that would be, so there'd be no way to go forward. That would be an absolute defense to the case. Yeah, it seems like a lot. Becca Edgar says, seems like a lot of testimony and evidence would prove criminal abuse by Amber and spousal abuse. Yeah, but if nobody picks up the phone, it's one of those things. Like I say it before, I tell my associates, listen, if it's not on paper, it probably didn't happen. And that's what, you can say, oh, I remember I had this conversation. If you can't prove it, it doesn't really back up. If you don't document it, it doesn't happen. So yeah, don't think that's going to happen. Let's see here. These move so fast. So many chats coming in. Okay, somebody miracle. Oh, okay, that's something else. Sorry. Okie dokie, didn't know what this. Okay, I didn't know I was staying at the Ritz. I live in Virginia. Through the grapevine, the JD stayed. I went to the courthouse last day to watch him drive in. Let's see here. Buddy Rich. Yep, no more booty calls for Johnny. Yeah, now this is the thing. Maybe Johnny will say he doesn't want the money because he said it wasn't about the money. But I've said this before and I'll say it again, ladies and gentlemen. It's always about the money. Yes. Does he need the money? I don't know. The guy, I think at one point was worth like $600 million. Now he's only worth like a paltry $150 million. He blames, lost his career on her. If you really want to get that dig in, right? What other than suing somebody in court and dragging them through all their dirty laundry, the next best thing would be to simply take them to the cleaners, get their money. So yeah, Johnny here's Kate or Kitty says Johnny's gonna take the high road and won't pursue this. I think we'll see. Orange Jubilee, we like these. Love your podcast. Thank you, Orange. Appreciate that. Hope everyone enjoys the show. And some days it's our lives are, I don't know. One of these days I'm going to have to become a little more disciplined and more structured so that when we come on here, we have like hard breaks. I sell you things. You buy things. I quit my day job as an attorney, something along those lines. I'm just kidding. Like I said, our Thursday night show is a lot of it's about, the questions that come up. Look, Hellcat, look, I love your shows. Thank you. Appreciate that. And we don't just, if somebody hates the show, we'll put that up too, because we too believe in free speech. We don't like to censor anybody. That's right. Mama Pink, who now says that along with Scott, outlook in a room by yourself, it's always about the money. I'm telling you, tell me I'm wrong on that one. Tell me I'm wrong. And maybe it's just because, like I said, maybe I'm just a little too cynical these days. But I still think we did a show and we did a kind of an updated show. Maybe we should do an updated show again. The 12 undeniable truths of life from a criminal defense attorney. And I think they're pretty accurate. I mean, I don't think that anybody is proven me wrong on any of those. Do you have those handy by chance, Julie?
No, they're on my desktop.
I had them all listed out. Maybe don't thought that was them there, but one of the 12 undeniable truths is it's always about the money. And when they say it's not about the money, then it's really about the money. Okay. Case in point, look at the Murdoch man, Alec Murdoch there in South Carolina. I mean, now there's allegations that this guy possibly, and I'm not saying he did. I don't know the man. I don't know what he did. He says he has a rock solid alibi that apparently may be falling apart just a wee bit, kind of like his attempted suicide claim and the fact that he was claiming that he was looking out for his client's best interest when he was stealing $4.3 million and never let a single person know in the family of the deceased housekeeper that he told to sue him that, they settled the case for $4.3 million. And no disrespect to Miss Satterfield in that particular case. I feel sorry for her family. It's a horrible, horrible situation. The fact that they've had to go through this, but the good is it's shown that Alec Murdoch and his alleged sphere of friends there in the low country of South Carolina, maybe not all cracked up what they were supposed to be. And you take off the suit and the tie, it turns out they're no better than just some street gang level criminal doing out there. So yeah. Anyway, $4.3 million for, an older lady. That's unheard of. People get hit by big semis, have permanent injuries, don't get $4.3 million, let alone somebody that trips on some stairs. That's crazy. Okay. Peace out, Lisa. Right. Oh my God, that Murdoch case, crazy. Can't get over the hole he has dug. Okay. So one of the things that they teach you in law school, and granted, it's been a long time since I've been to law school. Okay. But the first thing they teach you in torts, right? That's the class that they teach you how to, when you sue people for wrongs that people have done to you civilly. It's called a tort, right? Torts class. One of the things they teach is obviously you have to have a couple things before you can have a claim. First, you have to have a duty to somebody. Okay. What duty do you have to the individual? Well, I guess Murdoch, his duty to this Miss Satterfield was his employee, his housekeeper. And you're supposed to have a safe home that somebody doesn't trip upon, right? It's kind of imposed. There's statutes, you have to have housing codes. You violated a code, you have a duty. Then you have to have a breach of that duty. Like if your steps are supposed to be maintained and they're not, you have a duty, you breach that duty. And then you have to have causation in any case, right? In a civil case, causation, which is the but for. That but for your negligence, the injury would not have happened, right? Now, insurance companies, and I always get in trouble when I say this, are not really nice people, okay? Because they're not people. And what's the word I'd look for? They're not going to pay anybody any money unless they absolutely have it. That's right. So do you think you got an older woman in her 60s who trips going upstairs, hits her head? They're going to say, oh, it was our policyholder that caused the injury. There's nothing to say the steps were bad in any way. No, none at all, right? And so she goes to the hospital. I think she spends a couple of weeks in the hospital, coma, all the bad things that can happen to your head, when you're in the hospital. So you got, was there a duty? Yeah, possibly. Right. Yes. Breach that duty. Was it Murdoch's fault? The insurance company's going to say, not our fault. She assumed the risk when she came in the property. She's been walking those stairs for 30 years that she's been working there. She's getting old. Maybe she should have retired. Maybe she's stumbling. What kind of medication was she on? Bad knees, bad hips, you name it. They're going to go through everything and say, she's not entitled to anything. She's just a rickety old lady. And my God, she practically threw herself on those steps just to try and get some money out of Murdoch. That's the way the insurance companies look at it. Okay. Duty, breach, causation, and damages. Damages. You have compensatory damages in a civil case. Those damages are, what are your out-of-pocket expenses? Well, she couldn't work anymore. Apparently she wasn't living a rich lifestyle, but she got paid some money, so you can't have that. Then you got your medical expenses. She probably was on Medicaid, probably didn't really have to pay any of that out. So it's nothing. Then you have your non-compensatory damages, right? We can be compensated for. Those are your damages like, pain and suffering. I'm sure she was painful. It was painful. It suffered. Fall on your head hurt. But I'm telling you, no disrespect to her, but $4.3 million, there is no way an insurance company pays that kind of money on a slip and fall. I will swear to you, if somebody can show me a slip and fall case where somebody has got $4.3 million, maybe I will change my mind. But that is unheard of. Okay. So me, just a humble little street lawyer here that practices law and does primarily criminal defense work, would say, I'd sure love to see that insurance file. What evidence was put forward? The insurance company said $4.3 million. And then Alex Murdoch, well, he's all but admitted that he stole it. Where did it all go? There's got companies going here and there and blah, blah, blah. This guy had a line of credit of almost $1 million on his property, but he's still broke. He's got like $16. His wife is there, asking for an accounting because she doesn't believe what's going on. Who was this guy in with where all the money went to somebody else and apparently not his law firm? It just makes no sense to me. Hey, Frank, can you click on, I don't see it here, uncivil law? He has a comment down there, I think. Our friend there, uncivil law, CrimeTalk. Oh yeah, I'm looking into that myself. If that case ever goes to trial, we'll cover that one that cluster. Yeah, it's going to be a huge, huge cluster, to say the least. And only, only if it goes to trial will it really, the truth probably ever come out. I mean, we've seen thus far what it is, but a lot of unanswered questions. That's for sure. A lot of unanswered questions. Okay, Mama Pink says this about the Johnny Depp trial, and I wasn't aware of this. The hospital suing Johnny Depp for the money it cost them to testify. Normally, the attorneys have to make arrangements beforehand for those witnesses. I mean, we've had cases where expert witnesses were. Let me give you an example of the way witnesses are supposed to handle things like this. Okay, we had an expert, and I say we in a case and a client, and so I pick up my investigator. We hop into CrimeTalk 1. I fly down to pick up our expert witness, and then we're going to fly to an undisclosed location to test, or he was supposed to test all these items. And he's an expert, right? He's fancy, got degrees, and smart, and I mean, just really smart guy. So we fly in, we land, we turn the plane off, we get out. Hey, nice to meet you in person. Good to meet you. Talked on the phone. Really appreciate what you're doing. Blah, blah, blah. And that expert witness looks at me and he says, "Got my check?" I'm like, yeah, I mean, of course. He goes, "Okay." I'm like, "It's in my briefcase in the plane." I said, "Okay, let me go get it." So I go out, get the check. He literally looks at it, make sure I'm, like it's a legitimate business check, puts it in his pocket and says, "Okay, now we can go." Okay. That is normally the way it goes when it comes to expert witnesses and out-of-state witnesses. They don't get interested unless Mr. Green shows up. Bottom line, that's just the way it is. And same thing when it comes to hospitals and witnesses that traveled from out of state. Those people don't do that on their own dime. They have to, the people calling them as a witness pays for that. And frankly, if somebody didn't pay for that, then, that would be, oh, look, somebody's already trying to, okay. 2016 slip and fall and Lowe's $16.4 million payout. Okay. My guess is Mama Pink, that is a case where there was repeated stuff and there were punitive damages, not just one little old lady falling. I knew of a case I didn't handle, but somebody I know did, where what's the word I'm looking for? Something fell off one of those, things, injured somebody pretty good, and it wasn't that big. Let's see here. People raising objections. Let's see here. I just see Sled was waiting on the family to make a decision last week in the local news. Oh, that was regarding the exhuming the body of Miss Satterfield. So anyway, let me jump back here. All right. So somebody said $16.4 million for a slip and fall. I guess we'll just have to wait and see here. Okay. Let's see here. Uncivil law. Fuel for the plane. I'm the self-declared street lawyer. Laugh out loud. Love you. Fuel for the plane. Appreciate that. Uncivil law. And you guys should go check out Uncivil Law. We were together on the Rakita law back in when, gosh, it was over the summer, wasn't it? Early spring, when that was a long time ago. We haven't been on there in a while. We should do that. And yes, the plane always, I mean, you see these gas prices these days. Okay. What is this for the QYD JD jar? I don't know what that means. Oh, quit your day job. Okay. I love it. Okie dokie. Yes. Let's help Scott quit his day job. Okay. Should I give you my scenario in a perfect world? Perfect world. Scott is catapulted to 1 million plus subscribers and continues to grow. He builds a huge team of lawyers and producers and editors, and they go dig in deep on these cases and go do it. And they do it by going actually out to these locations and talking to people, right? Like digging in deep. And then whether it's a daily video or like documentaries, something along those lines, and literally like a show. I mean, like a broadcast thing where we cover. I know there's stuff that does it. You got the crime TV and law and crime, all that. I know, but we could do better. We could do better. Okay. Because not only am I an attorney, I'm a capitalist pig. Okay. And that's okay. It's okay to be a capitalist pig. Because, you know, what do you think? You know, the Little Sisters of the Poor is going to start something big like that? No, they're not. So, you know, we need to, you know, take care of that. Let's see here. Stephanie, it's coming up on yours. See if it comes. It won't pop up in my screen. Can you click on that, Stephanie? Frank? Yeah. So it shows up. I cannot see how it's possible that Alex isn't somehow involved in his wife's son's murder. What would the what is the motive though? Insurance? I mean, we normally like to stick to the facts. We normally like to not speculate. But I think Stephanie poses a very good question, right? Let's talk about that. Young Paul grew up a little bit of privilege, right? He was a Murdoch in the Low Country down there. Seemed like he kind of thought he was above the law, you know, buying underage beer, using the fake ID. And people say, oh, yeah, people do that all the time. No big deal. Yeah, it's no big deal until somebody gets an eye poked out or winds up dead like Mallory Beach on that causeway pier there near Paris Island, South Carolina. That's right, down there by the recruit depot. And clearly, Mr. Murdoch was engaging in some extracurricular nefarious activities. According to his own admission and his drug treatment, he had a drug problem. He went to rehab for that. And my first thought was, well, okay, stole a couple $100,000, but man, that's a lot of dope. But millions of dollars, I don't think he could do that without maybe killing himself. There's just something, it didn't make sense. But where did his problems really start? Where people started focusing on the Murdochs. They started with Paul. He gets in that boat accident. He's ultimately charged almost a year later from the date that the boating accident takes place there down in Beaufort, South Carolina, to where he's charged. And then there's a civil case pending as well. And what do they start doing? They start looking for the money, right? Yeah, they want criminal responsibility because it makes getting the money even easier. And they start digging for the money. And then they start coming about the stuff about who owns what property, this property, whatever, right? Why does all that start? What's the one way for this to stop? Well, Paul's gone. I mean, I hate to say it, but I think one could reasonably argue that there may have been a thinking that Mr. Murdoch maybe thought that, you know, if his son passed away, perhaps a lot of his pending legal woes would go away as well, right? The criminal case is done at that point. Maybe they figure they won't come after me. It was Paul's fault. It's not me. Have a little mercy, grace. And maybe, you know, I'm a Murdoch here in South Carolina. I can kind of control the outcome and maneuver of this, right? Then you get Maggie, right? And there hasn't been a whole lot of talk about insurance money on Maggie. And correct me if I'm wrong, Frank, Julie, am I missing something? But I don't think there's been a whole lot of talk about that. But, under most states, they have like a slayer statute. I'm not going to say I know what South Carolina's is, if one even exists, but then it would go to the older son, Buddy, right? Not the Buddy. Buster, Buddy, Buster, I'm sorry, grown adult that has a nickname of Buddy or Buster. Come on. Grow up, so to speak. And then, she's talking about a divorce, right? She's talking about a divorce. And what are divorces, ladies and gentlemen? Expensive they are, right? So you have an expensive divorce potentially heading your way. The Murdochs, they had split, and she was living up at the Edisto Beach house, right? Worth $900,000, but she was asking for an accounting, because what happens in the divorce? Suddenly everybody wants to know where the money is. How much money do we have? Do we have any money today or not? Right? Exactly. Boom, two birds with one stone, so to speak. Location, okay, sure, maybe he allegedly got a little bit of blood splatter. You can find an expert to say, that could have been in the air from simply walking through the crime scene later when he came up and rubbed it. Yeah, you find an expert that comes. So possibly, I think so. Not out of the ordinary, and obviously we'll give him the presumption of innocence. We're certainly not saying that at this point. That is just mere speculation, and not saying that he did anything, because we don't want to do anything defamatory. So we give him the presumption of innocence. But I'm saying, I was answering a question in regards to what would be the possible motive? And I'm just thinking, well, if I was trying to kill somebody and my son had caused me a great deal of angst, and it was going to probably cost me a bunch of money, and the case went away because he was gone, and it looks like, Mr. Murdoch doesn't have much of a heart or soul in any way. So it suddenly becomes pretty possible. Anyway, let's get to Michael Palmer's super chat here. Hi, Scott. Other than being disbarred, why didn't they indict the snake attorney Girardi and his wife? Literally stole millions from his clients, plane crash victims. That's not right. And for those who aren't familiar, I don't know all the details of Tom Girardi, but I mean, Tom Girardi was at one time a very, very well-respected attorney. And I remember seeing him speak at a national trial lawyers conference. I was like, wow, this guy is good. I know somebody that did a case with him on a huge antitrust case where the big dollars were settled. Okay. Big dollars. We're not talking with an M, we're talking with a B. And, I know those attorneys, they're set. And I think, what the hell did Tom Girardi do with his cut in all those cases? Remember, he was the one that came in the Lauren Brockovich case at the very end that saved the day. That was him, Tom Girardi. He very, very well respected. I remember listening to him, talk, and, the guy started practicing law like late 50s, early 60s. And he was talking about how he got his start doing, go down trying criminal cases to get experience in court. And that's how, he basically said became such a good attorney in court, was because he got used to standing in court, doing criminal cases. Now, fast forward, he marries his wife, and I can't remember her name, but she was like on the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills or Orange County or something like that. And it was stupid how much she was stupid. She would have people do her makeup every day. She was throwing money away on just nonsense. And then it turns out, Tom's broke. Tom's taking money from his clients and saying, I'm going to invest it in this and that. And, doing the typical fast talking stuff that gets people in trouble. The reason why I don't think he was indicted or charged in some particular way is because it turns out, it looks like he is now just a senile old man. I think his affairs were turned over to his brother by a conservator. And so basically they're basically saying that he's not competent to stand trial, so they're probably not going to do it. Hopefully he had good insurance, and they're probably going to sell his house and everything along those lines as well. So yeah, that's why he has not been charged, I think. Okie dokie has another super chat here, and to the quit my day job thing. Murdoch was literally lawyers, guns, and money. Yep.
Yeah, I forgot.
That look of disappointment. I'm looking over. I'm like, where's my soundboard? Do you have it handy? You can play it, Frank? Oh, maybe hold on here. Hold on, okie dokie. The official CrimeTalk theme song here. Oh, we have to charge it. Oh, he's plugging it in. Hold on. Housewives of Beverly Hills. Thank you. See? Oh, it's the ACLU, not the hospital, as it relates to Johnny Depp. You know who's lucky they didn't get sued as well?
Send lawyers, guns, and money.
It's the ACLU. Okay. Maybe he just didn't want to be the guy like suing the ACLU, I guess. But yeah, he could have done. Yes, Murdoch was literally lawyers, guns, and money. He was running a criminal. One could argue that he was allegedly running a criminal enterprise. And on our podcast, we didn't put it on the video, but on the podcast, we uploaded kind of the history of his grandfather. The Murdochs have a history of corruption down there in the Low Country. His grandfather was actually indicted, one of only, I think, 30 some co-defendants that was found not guilty. But of course, there were issues regarding some witness and jury tampering. And the presiding judge at the time, it's a very interesting story, literally was upset that Alex Murdoch's grandfather was going back to be, basically the district attorney down there after he was acquitted, like the following day. He resigned the day before the trial started, and he resumed his position shortly thereafter. Just crazy to me and interesting. But if you go to your favorite podcasting app, you can download that little story. It's rather interesting. And, they often say you get the government that you deserve. One could also say you get the prosecutors that you deserve. And I think we'll find out tonight, will we not, whether the district attorney in San Francisco remains or whether he is booted out as well. Who, basically says nothing is a crime and no one should ever go to jail. And so we'll see how that goes tonight. And then the other guy in LA is also being potentially recalled. I think they almost have enough to get him on a recall petition down there. Somebody's, see, I love it. You put that challenge out there. Case a few years ago, man walked into a sliding glass door on a cruise ship, won $27 million from the cruise insurance company, supposedly suffered permanent brain damage. Okay. I could maybe see that, because the permanent brain damage stuff, they're going to need a lifelong of care, and that's expensive, and you bring in the experts. But in the Murdoch case, I mean, Miss Satterfield passed away. And not to get too cold and callous, okay? But one of the things they teach you in law school is if, like, let's say you're driving down the street and it's dark and you're paying attention, but you don't see lots of things, and you feel the thunk thunk underneath the car, and you get out and you look because there's an accident involved. You need to report it. You do everything right. So there's no criminal charges. And I think there's actually a law school exam that I remember. And it was basically like, You're driving down the road, you hit the person, thunk, thunk. One person is a homeless person, and the other person is, a well-to-do person or, young aspiring person getting a great education, going to earn millions and millions of dollars in the long run. Who is it best to run over? And they basically, the correct answer is, well, clearly it's the poor guy, because he doesn't have any earning capacity. Say for example, he's homeless. Well, he's not making any money. What's his damage? He doesn't have any damages, right? The rich guy's going to say, oh, I can't work anymore. Oh, I'm brain damaged. I'm going to need full-time care. Life expectancy is the next 50 years. So I can see how they get up to that. But Mrs. Satterfield, $4.3 million. I mean, she passed, I think, away as 2 or 3, maybe a week or 2 later after being in the hospital. And not trying to be mean. I'm just saying, I would love to see what the insurance adjuster story is on that one. Insurance adjusters, I assure you, they don't write big checks like that. Not unless they absolutely have to, that's for sure. But there's nothing aggravated about that particular case, for sure. And if it turns out to be an intentional tort, guess what? The insurance company may want their money back. They could even try to go claw back from the people that that did it. But see, I love that. Why are comments disappearing? Well, they go by so fast. Okay, this is a question regarding the Chaffee County. Scott, question. What about DA Stanley having her law license being pulled because she did not do any continuing education? Would a new DA be put in Chaffee County? I'm not familiar if the district attorney Stanley, who was the prosecutor in the Barry Morphew case, having her law license suspended. Let me just do a quick little research for not doing continuing education. Now you got to get it done, or they will suspend you. And so you got to do that. There's no doubt about that. Let's see here. Let's see here. Let's see if we can find anything, because rules. Let's see here. Let's see here. Sorry for the I'm searching something here, but Miss Stanley was the recently elected DA, and I'm just curious now. I didn't know. It says suspended active CLE. Wow, I didn't realize her attorney registration number was so high. And what I mean by that is, they've been counting. I think they started about 50 years ago, and now her attorney registration number is 45298. And mine is down in the 2 6s, but it says suspended active CLE, which means she has to do that. I didn't know that she was suspended, to be honest with you. Thanks, Donna. See, if I could quit my day job, I could focus on things like this. But thank goodness we have our subscribers out there that helping us. Front page Mountain Mail News. Well, thank you. I didn't know that. I mean, see, there. Who has a hearing Thursday, Jen Lowe? Or is it? All right, let's see here. My father was required to do CLE since Oregon requires it too. Don't all states require it? Yes, Emerald Kimmy. Yes, attorneys, I think you have to do 45 hours of continuing legal education over the course of 3 years here in the state of Colorado. And I think that went up to used to be 7 hours of ethics training. And then they added something. It's like probably get in trouble if I say, but it's like diversity training or something that we have to do now. I'm not even sure where I sign up for that one, but I'll have to get that done because I need to do it. Oh, 9 News. No local district attorney's license suspended. Oh, ouch. Too bad for, CLE, and good question. Continuing legal education. It's, you go to CLEs, updates on classes, new methods to try your case, changes in the law, continuing legal education. Doctors do it. They call it, what do they call it? Continuing CMP, continuing professional education or something, CPE. Realtors have to do it. CPAs have to do it. Insurance people have to do it. It's just kind of a way of keeping up on it to see who's kind of serious about it. So that's what CLE means, continuing legal education. I didn't see that. I wonder why our crack team here didn't see that either. Huh. See, thank goodness for the subscribers coming through. Oh, here it is, George Gascon. Scott, George Gascon was police chief here in my hometown, Mesa, Arizona, in 2006, 2009. Friends in Mesa Police Department say they have such negative morale. Thanks to his police policies, they had to fire him. He's now the DA, I think, in L.A., Gascon. You notice how all those guys just always float around? They do a terrible job in one place, and somebody else hires them and says, hey, can you come do a terrible job for us too? Because we're really looking to do a terrible job. We're really looking to pay out all kinds of money for bad mistakes. Please. Christy, Scott, when are you going to write that book? You have so many stories, and the 12 undeniable truths would have to be a chapter. Working on it, Christy. I just need some time to do it uninterrupted. I literally think I could knock it out. Give me a week. See, yeah, here we go. See, I'm not just making this up. I'm a real estate broker. The company I used to work for required the agents to attend legal updates twice a year. It's always my favorite. We learn so much from idiotic mistakes agents made. Yes, all those rules are literally mistakes that somebody's made, and they said, you know what, we're going to do this. How are we going to do that? Tamara Hernandez, if I wasn't convicted of a felony, how could it still be on my records? Well, Tamara, I'm not sure which state you reside in, but unless you seal your records, like it is in my state, you don't want to talk to an attorney in your state. But if you do not seal your records, then it will always show up on your criminal history, even the one that people can, there's usually a background service that you can check. It's going to show up. So unless you have it sealed and you're eligible to have it sealed, it will always be there on your record. Hopefully that answers your question, Tamara. Aren't Gascon's folks Bill Aaron burning Dawn or his terrorist husband founding the Weather Underground? No, I do not believe so. I believe it's the DA in San Francisco, Bowden, I think is his name. His dad was one of the guys that was convicted of the Weather Underground, which is, I think, why he went to school. Yep, just like this. My dad's a retired veterinarian. To continue to hold his lives, he has to continue classes. He's like 75 now. Yep, they make you. They keep making you do it. What is this one? One robber an agent listed a tub as a jacuzzi tub. It wasn't the brand name. It was just a jetted tub. Guess that's listing agents bought the buy. You got to be careful out there, ladies and gentlemen. You got to be careful. That's for sure. Let me hide that one there. Let's see. If you're anything like this in court, I bet the judge who drew the shortest straw gets your case. You are too funny. We try to have a little bit of fun. Obviously, it depends on the case, but hey, you go in there, you try your case to win. What I have learned over the years is juries are smart people, okay? Just like subscribers. They're going to figure it out. Just be honest with them. Tell them the truth. And that's what you have to be in court too. And a lot of stuff that goes on in court, it's funny. It really is. And creates some of the great, best cross-examination that you can possibly imagine. I had this homicide case once. Oh my God, it was so funny. There were jurors that were actually chuckling, laughing. It was a really bad case. And I'm telling you, where they're like blood everywhere, knives, guns. It was just bad. People that survived, like crawling to the door because they're tied up and they're like opening the door with their mouth to get open, and guy walking to work in the morning finds all these people. Bad. Cold case. Years later, this guy comes in. He's gonna, he takes like a 48-year deal. He's gonna tell the truth, and he's saying how all this stuff went down bad. They stole this TV, and this is like 20 years ago, right? So we're not talking little flat screen TVs. We're talking those big TVs that, you couldn't get around. It was like big 20. I mean, it was huge, like 30. And he's saying he did it. And then they went to public, but they got rid of his clothes. And I remember I'm cross-examining. So let me get this straight. Here you are, 3 naked guys driving 100 miles an hour from Denver to Pueblo. This should take you 2 hours, and you did it in an hour time. And in the meantime, you're carrying a big TV to the thing. So you got 3 naked guys and a TV sitting next to you. And you stop at some point, strip your clothes down, you're all naked, driving back and forth. Yep, that's the way it happened. And you ditched your clothes. And you show up at this party, 3 naked dudes carrying a TV, and not a single person can remember you all showing up at that party, right? I mean, how is that not funny? That is great cross-examination. It is almost so ridiculous that it cannot be true. And so, oftentimes in things, if you can put a little humor into it, yeah. You have a unique mind to find humor in a homicide case. Well, I'm going to take that as a compliment, Judy. But I have said this before, and I will say it again. Judy. The stuff that I have seen, if I did not laugh about it, it would only make you cry. Okay? I'm telling you, there is so much bad in the world, and you try to find the good things about it. But there is evil out there in the world. And sometimes you have to kind of chuckle at it. And it may seem like a little bit of a dark humor, but like I said, if you don't laugh about it, you'd probably cry. Okay. And I remember when I was a young attorney starting out, and what's the word I'm looking for? I was just a young attorney, right? And I'm just kind of like, oh my gosh. And I'm, just wanted to do the best job I could for my clients. But you meet a lot of people over the years that can't handle it and the stress of it. And even kind of last week, remember I said it was a really bad week last week? I really had to kind of check myself, because I was like, oh my God, I don't want to be that guy. I felt like every time I was talking to the lovely Miss Kristen or a friend of mine, all I was doing was complaining. I was like, I don't want to be that guy that's just complaining. But it was a tough week. And I was like, I just need to take a deep breath. I'm not a yeller. Okay. So when I'm actually yelling in my office, I've reached my limit, so to speak. And I was actually yelling at somebody last week, not an employee. It was I don't remember who it was, but I think it was a client. But it was just like, do you think I'm that stupid? Right? Do you think I'm that stupid to believe that story? Like, I'm your attorney, I'm your advocate, and I don't even believe that story. You think 12 people are going to believe that story? No. So anyway, it is what it is. Let's see here. Scott. Okay, here we go. Just Jake. Scott, after a year of thinking it over, I'm going to retire in 3 months at the age of 62 from my long, stressful corporate career. If I get bored, I will work in a bookstore or something like that. Just Jake. Good for you, Just Jake. I wish you the best of luck. I hope you don't get bored. Hopefully you can find lots of things you want to do. Like I said, get me to 1 million subscribers. I quit my day job. The Crime Talk team will expand. We'll jump in Crime Talk 1. Maybe we'll even upgrade Crime Talk 1. Because the faster the plane, the more places that we can go, check into, more cool videos that we can create. Think about it. It's not all on me. It's up to you guys as well. If that's what you want to see, tell a friend, subscribe if you haven't already. Okay. Watch those videos. Need your help. I'll stay. Yep. Jen Lowe, she'll stay on board. We need best mod ever. I'm sure with her investigative skills, I'm sure we could probably find something for her to do as well. That's for sure. I thought I saw something here. Anyway, well, good luck, Jake, in retirement. It's a funny thing, every day you think, man, what am I doing this for? I've got, friends. I mean, in our little community here, we probably lose one person a year to suicide. And it just like, man, I just saw them. They look fine. Guess with COVID, it hasn't really seen it, but that was kind of the trend. And it was just sad. But, when you're always in kind of, some people get to deal with happy, positive people. You're feeling great, right? And some days being an attorney, it's not just being an attorney. Some days you got to put your today it's I'm the business manager. Today I'm the marketing director. I'm HR, you name it. And there's so many things to do. It just some days becomes darn overwhelming. And you just think, what am I doing some days? Like, what am I doing? But you keep marching on. And as Tamara says, yeah, and I would never do that. But I just don't get it. I mean, it's like just if the job is that bad, and it can be, it's stressful. You deal with, for some people would say, a lot of people, like I have a lot of great clients and, from all walks of life, but, like public defenders, I mean, they're dealing with people that, and we still take court appointed cases on the more serious stuff. And, you get people that don't have any of the resources whatsoever. They've had a extremely rough life, not financial circumstances, but think about it. Most people, if you got arrested for a serious offense, most people, could you get out of custody? Could you afford yourself a good attorney? It gets tough, and just the negativity and always the bad stuff. I was talking to a friend of mine. I was like, man, we deal with just everybody else's problems that oftentimes you don't have any time to deal with yourself. So take care of your own problems. That's for sure. So anyway, not trying to bring anybody down or anything. I'm just kind of telling it the way it is. I mean, it's, I always get asked, people ask, well, do your kids want to be attorneys? Would you recommend your children be an attorney? And I would say, no. I think there's much better ways of making a living, just given the environment that it's in. I have a friend who practiced law since the early 70s, mentor. And he said, oh my gosh, you couldn't imagine. This was 20 years ago. He was like, oh, you couldn't imagine. When I first started, it was like printing money. People believed everything you said. They followed your advice. They didn't question it. You sent the bill. They paid it because they were appreciative of the work. And this is 20 years ago. He's complaining it's completely changed. And I'm like, Well, now another 20 years gone by, and you're just like, let me tell you, everybody's an expert because they Googled it. Everybody knows something about a case because, they saw it on a TikTok. They have somebody who had a cousin, who had a friend, who had a neighbor with a case just like this once, and they knew exactly what to do. And so that's just the way it is. And if you do serious cases like we do, and I've done over the years, it's inevitable. I mean, you literally have to tell the clients, all right, here's the process. If you lose, which we may lose on this one, you're going to go through your appeals. And guess what? Then you got to come back and say, I was a bad attorney. And they're like, no, Scott, you're a great man. I love you, man. You're the best. No, don't go there. You're going to come back because you want to get out of prison if you're serving a life sentence or what you believe to be a life sentence. And you're going to do or say anything to get out of prison. And you're going to say stuff. And I tell clients, why do you think I'm documenting everything here? Because you have to do it. And then I have to say, nope, advised him. Nope, we understand this this plan that we're going into trial, and things are done for strategic reasons. It's like doctors years ago. You always hear about doing tests and everything like that, even though they didn't have to, just to protect themselves. That's the way the practice of law has become, unfortunately. It's unfortunate, but that's just the way it is. All right. Wow. We went long tonight, but we were in a talkative mood. We didn't even take any breaks, but that's okay. You all deserve a commercial-free hour and a half, just trying to have your questions answered. And hopefully I was able to do that. If you would like to continue the conversation and even be able to call in, you can do the Patreon show, which is going to start here in about 5 minutes. Hopefully you join us if you haven't been a Patreon. I want to thank everybody for joining in, not only here on YouTube, but Facebook as well. Have a wonderful night, and we'll see you next time on Crime Talk.